Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Beer Blather 182. General Decay, introducing General Joseph Robinette Decay, and otherwise the General Decay of, a lot of stuff around the world. We're going to get into the particulars, mostly related to to our very own General Decay, who seems to be decaying uh, in front of our eyes by the truckload. Before I get into the presentations and all that jazz, if you're new to this, uh, please remember to click on subscribe and notifications. And if God gave you a couple of extra bucks, maybe join this channel and support this channel so that we can continue to bring these programs to you. We are starting this as we have done in the recent weeks, simultaneously in our own channel in Odyssey, in YouTube, and in Twitter/X/that shithole. And the rule of the game is very simple. We're going to be in YouTube for a little while, and then we're going out because we don't like it. The only reason we are in YouTube is to remind our amazing and incredible 8,300 followers a year and a half after we left that, hey, guys, we're here, okay? So just click on the description. There is a link that will bring you directly here. If you want to participate in the chat, and in the off chance that we may like an answer, please come to Odyssey, because we're not monitoring chats in YouTube, and there is no chat in the birthplace. The birthplace, by the way, we are until the end, and if they don't like it, they can cancel us, because frankly, we don't give a shit about Twitter, X, Musk, or anybody who has anything to do with that. That said, this is Saul Montes-Bradley, the largest human repository of useless information, from my golden cage in Florida. And right next to me, right over there, the guy with a beanie and a beard, Thomas Wictor, the only living expert in World War I flamethrowers and a host of other weapons that I hope to, let's say, inquire about over the next hour. And I believe that's it for me. Hello, Thomas. How are you doing? And how's Californication treating you these days?
No changes here in California. I discovered that the woman who used to run the show next door, I don't know if she's even alive, but her adult daughter is now the matron of the household. And this is a woman who I backed into her car accidentally. And so I went over to their house and told them, I just backed into your car, so of course I'll pay for it to be fixed. And she was like, okay, I'll ask my brother, it's his car. So a while later, a normal speaking guy came over and I told him what happened. And he offered to look around for the cheapest guy, and he said, no, you need your car, get it fixed right away. And they, without me asking, they brought over the receipt and everything. And she brought over the receipt, and she was like, hello, this is. And she's now running the house, and
right into
good
the
luck.
crowd.
Good luck to everybody. They're doing endless work on the house, and I went outside and I heard this clatter. I was out with Tim. We were about to go out, and I heard this clatter, and it sounded like someone had dropped an armful of like boards, like two by fours. I said, wait a minute, what the hell was that? And he said, it's people laughing. It didn't sound human. It sounded exactly like if you took an armful of boards and then you just dropped them on the ground, it would go, just people laughing.
Well, if you hear that again, start going yak 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 yak, just in case. You need a means of communication with these people.
See, my father used to do that. My father, when he went out in public, he would imitate strangers' laughs, and I have no idea why. I didn't even know if he was aware he was doing it. But if you heard anybody laugh in the supermarket or whatever, he would go really loud. And it's like, oh my god! And see,
Yeah,
even
but at least he was doing it on purpose. You're telling me these people laugh naturally like this?
well, I mean, okay, there's a certain type of person. There's a fake church at the end of the street, and they own several of the houses, which they put like Section 8 people in, and they're all very, very coarse people, and they all laugh a lot. They have gatherings where everybody drinks beer, and they laugh at everything, and they talk loud, and they laugh ear splittingly in a coarse, yeah, 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 yeah. And they all do that. And it is the weirdest thing. It's like I've noticed, regardless of the socioeconomic position that people have in our society, they sort of don the outfit of the people they're supposed to be. So here in California, there are rich Californians who all look alike, dress alike, think alike, talk alike.
Yeah, like the
Um,
Stepford Wives.
well, the new thing, women, it used to be young women, now it's women trying to be young, everybody. They put at the end of it. Usually when they're getting arrested for drunk driving, they say, I didn't do anything. Why are you doing this to me? And it's just an arbitrary thing that they all picked up from social media. And I I never knew that people were this. They were like sponges sucking in. What do I do now? How do I act now? How do I speak now? Um, and it affects all. There's
In,
the
for, for,
military.
for what you're telling me, instead of keeping up with the Joneses, this sounds like keeping up with the Karens.
Well, see, the goal is to belong to a group and be a generic member of the group. So the guys who run the Black Coffee Company are known as bro vets, bro veterans. They're all power lifters for their upper body. They're all super glib, and there's a whole bunch of them on YouTube. They're very, very successful, and it's like they were all stamped out by a factory. Just kaboom,
Yeah.
kaboom, like the scene in Mars Attacks where the two big stamping machines are putting the suits on the identical Martians. Um, People who work on Wall Street are all the same. Um, I mean, you worked on Wall
Oh
Street.
yeah. Oh yeah.
People who live in Wyoming and okay, I watch a guy called Heavy Duty Country. He's really good, but he's a generic. He's a generic pro-gun Texan who, what makes him slightly different is he's super, super intelligent, but he always used to have dip in his lower lip, and all I could think of was you know jaw cancer, gum cancer. Dip is
Well,
really bad for you.
the
So
Joe Cancer. Don't mention Joe Cancer.
exactly. I
Yeah.
mean, so it's Joe Biden is a generic. He's a generic corrupt politician. The only one who's like really, really different on every level is Donald John Trump. And that's one of the reasons I voted for him. Is I liked what he said his platform is, but I also just like the person. I can't say that he is as authentic as they come, because I don't know that, but his presentation is very authentic. It's appealing to me. It's completely different. The man is totally unique on every level. Um, and I like that. I like outliers.
Sometimes he's really unpredictable, which is
Yeah,
kind of refreshing, if you will.
it is.
I
It
I
is.
have the feeling that you will vote for the son of a bitch even if he is in death row.
Of course, of course. I
Yes.
mean, anyway, who's there? I saw clips from the debate, and there's this horrible clip of DeSantis saying, "I will never let you down." Then he went, and he offered this weird, greasy smile that just kind of curdled.
Contrived.
It was just, it was so awful. And then, Vivek, everybody loves Vivek. Vivek is like totally off-putting to me because he's like a glad hander. He's like a cartoon glad hander.
He's a snake oil salesman.
Well, he's totally synthetic. He's synthetic on every
Yeah.
level. There isn't one in that crew that strikes me as authentic in the least. They're all generics. Oh my God. Do you know how hard it is to smile while showing both rows of teeth?
Yes. And you know where this picture comes from?
No.
Oh, you're gonna love this one from the Paul and Daisy Soros Fellowship for New
Perfect.
Americans. Uh,
Hello,
he,
fellow.
he took a $90,000 Soros Fellowship in 2011 to go to law school. Of course,
Okay,
he was a billionaire at the time, but apparently he needed a, a scholarship, and the scholarship is for the children, for immigrants and the children of immigrants. Kind of like a practical exercise of discrimination, and he had no problem with that.
well, see, I have no idea. I mean, I haven't bothered to do any research on the guy. What's his background? Who is he?
Oh, he is a swindler, a con man. He made a fortune by peddling a a future uh, drug that did absolutely nothing. He was going to cure Alzheimer's or something like that. And of course, they did a lot of hype. They lied on reports. They had their IPO. They got filled with money up the wazoo, got rid of the shares, and let it drop like a fucking lead balloon. And then he moved on to another one, and his uh, pharmaceutical company, his biotech company, is called Roivant. Roivant as in return on investment.
Wait, okay, so
And people fall for this asshole.
the same people who hate big pharma also love the big pharma company CEO Vivek Ramaswamy, right? Is that what you're
Yeah,
telling me?
yeah, I'm telling you that the nincompoops who are all the time railing against big pharma, against big banks, and against Soros have fallen head over heels in love with a little shit that represents big pharma, big bank, and Soros.
Well, see, okay, what Ramaswamy does that makes right wingers fall in love with him is that he goes on these shows that have 68,000 viewers, and he makes mincemeat out of the idiot hosts, like that lipless woman on CNN, the really
Yeah,
toxic
but
woman.
but really, between you and me and the doorpost, how difficult can that be?
Well, that's the thing. And okay, I don't know if you heard. Okay, I'm done with him. I don't know if you heard. I mean, the rich man north of Richmond guy turns out to not like Republicans, and
Yeah,
so all the Republicans who embraced him have now turned against him. So it's like the
yeah.
beat goes on.
And by the way, Vivek is not a registered Republican because he didn't vote in Republican primaries. He didn't vote in any election at all since he voted for Obama.
Yeah, I mean, this is he's like a more high energy Obama. He's
Yeah.
like a more bouncing ball Obama. You know, like
Oh,
remember the little red bouncing ball from the sing-alongs in movie theaters.
interesting you say that because when the ill-fated debate between the losers started, he started with something like, uh, this. I never thought I was going to be the skinny young guy with a dark skin in the center of this debate, which is exactly word for word the line Obama used in his first debate.
Yeah, well, he's starting to make a lot of references to his ethnicity and his skin color, and you know, again, people who should know better don't find that offensive. The same people who claim to find it offensive when a leftist does it don't find it. I mean, Ramaswamy did a word for word presentation of an Eminem rap, and everybody thought it was impressive for some reason. Um, I I don't know. I mean, I never understood Eminem. That I'm not attracted to people with a flat affect, you know. And that guy
No,
went through
and,
an entire
and
movie.
he's got it.
His daughter is a catastrophe, you know. He's just he had some horrendous plastic surgery disaster that left him. I don't know. I mean, this is all just again,
He has a daughter.
yeah. We go
You mean the
back
little
to
shit could reproduce? That's
yeah.
scary.
I mean, there's a million women who would bear his child with no problems at all. But um, no, I mean, and this brings us back to Trump. That Trump is different from all of the. I mean, look at everybody. Look at everybody who's been saying the exact same crap that you and I have been saying, or you and I have been hearing all our lives. You know, whether it's left wingers or right wingers, it's like the beat goes on. It just doesn't change. And
No,
Trump is different. And I mean, okay, before the show started, we were talking about Black Americans responding
yes, we were.
a lot of young Black men responding positively to the fact that Trump now has a mugshot. But what we also said is that that's not going to change their voting patterns. Um, the way they vote makes no sense at all to me, so I don't bother thinking about it anymore. Um,
No, and the thing that I told you in private that I have no problem saying in public now, there are a lot of people who overestimate this bullshit, uh, and they think that there is a massive uh, influx of black voters into the Trump camp. Uh, I think they overestimate it. I mean, if he manages to edge, uh, to grab 2%, it's a victory nonetheless. But frankly, I think we're talking about very minimal changes here. I think that the vast majority of the black vote is going to go to Democrats per usual,
yeah,
and if
just
you're counting on the black vote for a Trump victory,
no,
start looking for other allies.
yeah, no. I mean, it's just a reflex response. There's no thought given to it. Um, I mean, I don't think about it. I mean, like you said, Trump got what 6% last time, and it was considered jaw dropping. Six
Yeah,
percent.
yeah, compared to the 2% that others got.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, the Democrats instead of getting 98% of the black vote got 92%. 6 or 8% is what Trump got. It wasn't enough. It
no,
wasn't enough. And people forget that the black population in America represents about 13% of the total population. So, in order to have a 1% move in elections, you need 10% to move your way. To
Yeah.
increase your voting numbers by 2%, you need 20%, actually 26% of blacks to move your way. It's not going to freaking happen. Figure out
Well,
something else.
look at um, black run cities with almost totally black populations. I mean, they've been hellholes for 50 years now. And
Yeah,
Chicago had the worst mayor on record, so they replaced her with an even
with
worse mayor.
something even worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Now
just,
we're going to miss Beetlejuice.
yeah. I mean, this guy hates everybody, obviously, because he wants them all to die. He hates everyone except for criminals. Let me amend that. Um, and I don't get it. You hear black people complaining all the time about high crime and all that stuff, and
Yep.
then they vote for the people that give them exactly what they're complaining about.
Yep.
So same with Californians. Californians are complaining to the point where they're now actually leaving the state, but they don't change their voting patterns because it's an emotional thing for them.
Yeah. They actually take their voting patterns with them to their new
Yeah.
locations.
But we're past the age when you can dilute the redness. A lot of Californians decided to come back. I know a woman who went to Reno and she came back to California because the people in Reno were too conservative.
Ooh.
Think about that.
Okay. I propose that everybody there was a comedian when I was growing up in Argentina that used to rile against the government, and somebody would say, "Well, but okay, so let's assume they do what you say. What do we do with the poor?" And he would look at them and say, "The poor? Let them go to Russia. It's a country made for the poor. Here, we should adapt that to." Those idiots, let them go to California. It's a state tailor made for morons.
Yeah.
They can be as happy can be, as clams in a shell, while they go broke trying to pay for, I don't know, healthcare for illegals.
Well, see, the interesting thing about certain groups of people, such as Californians, that you've heard the phrase or the saying, I'm sure, that there are no atheists in foxholes. Californians would be
No,
atheists in foxholes. Californians would be. Californians are suffering.
would be the atheist in the foxhole.
Yeah, and
Yeah, yeah.
Californians are suffering. I mean, there's no seeing the light for Californians. This place is going to be hell on earth for another 30 years minimum. And that sort of thing, George Orwell basically said that people are pacifists until their own butt is on the line. Californians would still espouse pacifism as they were being invaded by a country that was exterminating
As they
cities.
were being enslaved.
What?
As they were being enslaved, they would
Yeah.
sit down and sing Kumbaya.
Well, they would. I mean, they would just be incoherent. They wouldn't know what they wanted. They would just. And this sort of foggy thinking is. I saw something on Breitbart today saying that sending or allowing countries to send F-16s to Ukraine is nothing to cheer about because it endangers escalating the war. Well, as we were about to go on air, the Ukrainians made a massive breakthrough in the south, and the Russians retreated all the way to the Surovikin line.
Yep.
And it turns out that the Surovikin line is one anti-tank trench that can be bypassed totally easily. You take vehicles with bulldozer blades and you just shove dirt in those, and that's it. Then there are those stupid dragon's teeth that are made of brittle concrete that can be crushed by tanks. And then there's a single infantry trench. The Russians, okay.
And you know what cluster bombs can do to those.
Well, also, if you're going to dig trenches, you have to do it the right way. You have to have multiple lines of trenches for infantry. You have to have communication trenches. You have to have underground bunkers where you can put your reserves and all of that. The Russians are going to have a bunch of riflemen in one trench.
Yep.
Going to be wiped out immediately, and then the Ukrainians.
Did you see that? Did you see that video of Russian infantrymen running in all directions in the trench?
Yeah, and getting cluster munitions
and getting annihilated, because you know it's like running against each other in the trench. They really don't know. They probably had 10 minutes of training.
Well, see, the foreign whatever it's called, the international battalion, full of operators from around the world who all communicate in English. There was an American. They managed to get behind a Russian trench, and they were in foxholes or something. And the front Russian trench was attacked with cluster munitions. And this Russian soldier came running, like swimming in the air, blindly. And the Americans saw that he wasn't armed. The Russian jumped into the trench next to the American, went, "Ah!" and saw that he wasn't a Russian, then got out and ran back into the maelstrom and was killed. So he was in a state of pure panic on every possible level. No training whatsoever. Nothing. I mean, literally nothing.
No. You know that I'm never one to jump to conclusions on these things. We've been talking about how long this was going to be for the longest time. By the way, I did say a year ago the Russians can win, therefore they have already lost, and the rest is accommodating the field to that reality. Now, whether it takes 2 months or 2 years is an entirely different question. And we're getting closer and closer to it. Now the Ukrainians are conducting special operations in Crimea. They send people on boats, land, destroy a military headquarters, a weapons depot, then jump back onto their boats and get the crap out of Dodge. And the Russians didn't even react.
One of these missions, they sent a jet to intercept the men in boats. The jet was armed with an automatic cannon, a super rapid fire automatic cannon. And the jet made 2 strafing runs before they were able to hit it with a shoulder fire anti-aircraft missile, and the jet took off smoking. The jet had no munitions, and using a 20, the Russians have 23 millimeter cannons on their jets. Trying to hit a weaving Zodiac with a 20 millimeter cannon is not possible especially when you're flying at super fast speeds. But they don't have any other munitions to put on their jets. So that's how bad off the Russians are.
And they're not going to have to actually go through the process of an invasion of Crimea. It's going to drop like a ripe avocado.
That's the thing that people like Breitbart don't understand, is that as the Ukrainian offensive gains steam, the Russian collapse correspondingly gains steam. The Russians ran all the way. The Ukrainians advanced at last official notice 2 miles today. the reports are that they've advanced much further. The Russians ran all the way back to the Surovikin line, but there's no guarantee that they won't abandon that too.
Yeah.
The Russians are now drafting Cubans in Russia and sending them to fight in Ukraine.
What are they gonna do? A conga line?
Well, also, how can they communicate with them? I'm assuming. I mean, a Cuban smuggled out a video. They look like they were 15 years old, and they said the Russians confiscated our papers. They forced us to sign a contract with the military, and we're going to Ukraine, and we need help. They're done for.
They are beyond help.
Pardon me?
They are beyond help. I don't think anybody will give a rat's ass about them.
No, no.
Back in the day, Cuban soldiers spoke Russian.
Yeah.
They learned Russian in military school. They trained with the Russians. They were in constant communication with Russians. I don't know how it is today. I haven't kept up. In the past 15 years, I stopped paying any attention to the island because it's not worth an hour of our time. But whether they can communicate or not is irrelevant. And how many Cubans can they get in there? 1,000?
Yeah, exactly.
On the top line, this is nonsense. What I do know is Russian technology, which was shit at the beginning of the war, is less than shit now because whatever shit they have is turned to shit. And this is like the shit hour of the Russian army. What are they gonna do? What can they throw at the Ukrainians? When the Ukrainians get the F-16s, it's kick-ass time. And if they had them 2 months ago, this would be over now.
It's funny. You just mentioned that Cubans used to speak Russian. In the original Red Dawn movie, which was made in '84 or something, the Russian commander was played by an American actor named William Smith. William Smith was a fluent Russian speaker who was part of he's part of the U.S. Air Force intelligence unit that operated basically behind enemy lines in the Korean War. He interrogated Russian pilots he decoded intercepts, radio intercepts. They went behind the lines. They went deep into enemy territory so he could listen and listen in on their radio transmissions. And so he was speaking Russian in that movie to a Cuban, and the Cuban was, he was also American, but he was of Cuban background, and he spoke Russian and Cuban accented Spanish. And so, it was very accurate because in that movie, when the Soviets invaded, it's like the Russians were there, the Bulgarians were there, the East Germans were there, the Cubans were there. But today, Russia doesn't have anything left. They're now bringing out the World War II tanks. So when Breitbart worries about expanding the war,
they're bringing up tanks from before World War II.
Yeah, no,
I saw them today. I to be honest, I don't know if the picture I saw was the unloading of a tank at a museum, but it's one of the Stalin tanks. These are like 1938 tanks.
Well, see, it's a Russian propaganda. They showed them going to those big tank monuments, from World War II, and they were able to start up the engines, and they were saying, see, this is why Russia will never be defeated, because we have weapons that go back 100 years. We will always fight. And it's like, yeah, but how's a T-32, a T-34 going to do against a Challenger?
Yeah, not
Um,
to mention the fact that really, 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 when they go to start him, it doesn't because somebody stole the freaking engine.
yeah, I mean, you can't believe anything the Russians say. They produce videos, and I mean, their doctored videos are laughably amateurish, but um, the fear of World War III or escalation or whatever, all of that is way overstated because I mean the Russians don't have anything with which to escalate except nuclear weapons. And now that Prigozhin is killed, and
Assuming they work, I keep saying that because I
yeah,
doubt very much
now that
that the
Prigozhin
nuclear
is
arsenal is in any shape.
now that Prigozhin is dead, and we see that it's very likely that the intelligence arm, the FSB, is taking action at this point. There isn't a chance in the world that Putin is going to be allowed to fire off nuclear weapons. Um,
No, no. We always said he wouldn't be able to. We always said if he ever attempted to, he'd be killed instantly. So no, I don't think it's going to happen.
no, I mean, Putin has proved that he's not indispensable. He's being shunned by the world, and he can't go anywhere due to the world court um, arrest warrant. So he's like why do we need Putin anymore?
Hmm. Well, I never had any need for him, to tell you the truth. But it seems to be that uh, even the Russians have no use for the son of a bitch.
That's the thing. And once you're more of a detriment than you know a utility, then your days are numbered, especially in a country like Russia.
Yeah, and remember the FSB. One of the first things that Putin did last year to kind of cover his ass over the dismal failures in Ukraine was to blame bad intelligence and purge the FSB. Uh, there is no love lost for the little gnome from hell in the FSB. I think they already have not a target at a price on his head.
Yeah, yeah,
And that brings me to Prigozhin, since you mentioned Prick Ozin. Um, of course, rumors are already flying around, you know. He didn't die. He's one of the immortals. He rose like a phoenix from the ashes of the plane, and he's going to be conducting a coup against Putin uh, from some hidden place because Prigozhin is now the Russian Mahdi.
yeah. The 12th
Have you seen?
Imam.
Yeah, have you seen this shit?
Yeah, I mean, see, there's so many conspiracy theories flying around that you lose track. But yeah, I've seen mention of that. Sure.
Yeah. Now let me be clear. There is as yet no positive proof that Prigozhin was in that plane. Just because somebody is in the passenger list does not mean that he was physically in the plane. Uh, the only positive proof will come from DNA testing when they're done. However, that said, even Prigozhin's most ardent partisans are lamenting his demise and accusing Putin of his murder. So I have the feeling that yes, he was there. He became one with the cosmos together with his second in command, his entire corps of bodyguards. The only thing that I'm not entirely sure is that this was ordered by Putin. And the only reason I'm not entirely sure is because Putin had a myriad ways of doing away with his asshole without leaving his fingerprints. And
Yeah,
he's a master at that. He's, uh, he's eliminated hundreds of opponents, and it can never be traced to him. Uh, remember, well, people poisoned with polonium,
Hmm.
uh, all kinds of shit. Why be so crude in the elimination of Prigozhin, particularly when the army is divided and so is the FSB?
Well,
It may
this,
very well be the FSB doing this.
well, see, if it wasn't Putin and if it was somebody else, then this is probably the best sort of way to take out both Prigozhin and Putin at the same
Yep.
time, because you know Prigozhin was seen as the only one who really cared about the troops, even though he didn't. Obviously,
Didn't give a shit. Yeah.
he took Bakhmut by using meat waves, just like the regular Russian army. Um, so he didn't care, but he was perceived as caring because he said, "I care." Um, Putin has never lowered himself to saying, "I care." Putin is ice cold, and Prigozhin, with his bellowing and blustering and occasionally getting drunk. Um, More Russian. Well, Prigozhin was an ex-con, so of course he was much more relatable than Putin. Um, and now that Prigozhin's gone, I mean, we don't know exactly what's going to happen, but we do know that the Russian army is completely demoralized.
Yes.
They're seeing now more than ever that nobody gives a damn about themselves. I saw a telegram. It was from a Russian soldier, and it said, "If Prigozhin's really dead, then pack your bag, boys. We don't need this war anymore."
Well,
So,
there's going to be a lot of that, and it looks like morale in the Russian army is ripe for some shit like that. Now, eh, on Wednesday, you and I discussed the plane in which Prigozhin met his maker, and let me show you because we discussed what type of plane it was, what could have happened, and I told you.
are we still on YouTube? Because YouTube will get all hysterical if we show any pictures.
Oh, okay, well, no, the pictures I'm going to show, they're not going to get hysterical, but you know what? We've been there long enough. So, guys in YouTube, if you want to continue watching, there is a link to come here to Odyssey. Click it. And by the way, there is a guy in YouTube who wants to let you know that the Carlos account is reinstated in Twitter.
The what?
The
The what?
Carlos Oswida, the
Oh,
Carlos Oswida account has been reinstated in Twitter. In case you don't know, imagine that. Thank you very much for the news. There is a video we posted months ago uh, stating both Thomas's and my position regarding that. You are more than welcome to find it and watch it. And with that, bye bye, you boob. Oh, where are we? Oh, yes.